Welcome to episode 8.25 of the Grumpy Brothers podcast. I am Chris Ludvigsen, joined by Ted. Say hey, Ted.
Hey, Ted.
Didn't forget this week, Ted. I had it specifically ingrained in my mind. Don't forget to say hey, Ted. Thank you to our listeners. Please subscribe. You know, Ted, as you get older, you have to write everything down.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
well, it's the big moment of the show.
It is. People wait weeks for this.
Yeah.
if
Hopefully not weeks. Every week, just weekly.
Yeah, it's our trademark.
Yeah.
Thank you to Wicked Good. Thank you to our listeners. Please subscribe and listen on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or Odyssey. Also, please follow us here on Millions.co. Today, we wrap the NHL Finals. We discussed the first two rounds of the U.S. Open. We're recording on Saturday this week instead of Sunday, so we only have two rounds, and I guess the scrubs have already teed off, but I don't see anybody making a move yet in the second round or in the third round. We'll get to that here in a little bit. And then we're going to finish with a discussion of the initial volleys in the Major League Baseball collective bargaining agreement. And I think volleys might be a good term because I think they're just lobbing stuff.
Yeah, I like that one.
Point. Yeah. Before we get to that, Ted, what's making you grumpy today?
I think that is a good term. Yeah.
What's making you grumpy today?
Well, coincidentally, as we're going to talk about golf, I played golf Wednesday, and when you go out by yourself, you never know how you're gonna get teamed up with. And there were three guys that somewhere around my age, maybe a little younger on a couple ends. One guy thought he was Mr. Golf. And actually, of the three of them, he was Mr. Golf. At least he knew the general playing rules, of etiquette and some level. Although he quickly after sculling his second tee shot of the day, he quickly went to his hybrids because the course was too long or too short for him, I'm sure. 150 yards, 120 out, 20 to the right, 20 to the left. Everybody has a day. He might have been better than that. He just had a bad day, But it was the other two guys. One of them who admitted freely he didn't play much. And he just he had his own cart and he was off, he'd hit a ball and he'd stand around and then he'd look and then he'd get up on the green. And at one point he hit my ball, which he spent 3 holes apologizing for. And I'm like, we're not keeping score here. I don't really care. I thought I had lost it. You found it. It's all good. I'm fine. But the last guy, he was off in his own world. He was a retired school teacher of some kind. And, he comes out and you look at him and you sort of size people up on the first tee, and, I don't care if his shirt's tucked in. I really don't. But when you're like, over my age, it kind of probably should be, but whatever. He's got his hat on and it's sideways the whole way. He's like Keith. Remember Keith Friend always had his hat sideways.
Yes.
So I thought he was left-handed, but he wasn't, So that's always dangerous. And he's playing in shoes that I would have refereed basketball in. All black Reeboks. No, they're not golf cleats. They're just shoes. Yeah. They're just bad court shoes, And they're it seems like they're barely on his feet. They're half falling off. And so, we get to, and then at the backside, things really backed up because there was a large group of people, and the last group of that group had really fallen. They were like a hole and a half behind. So everything was kind of choked up. So the guy with the hat on sideways on 18, I've never seen this before. And I've played a fair amount of golf.
You played a lot of golf. I can't wait to hear what happened on 18th tee.
So, no, it's not on the tee. Well, actually on the tee, the three of them tee off, and then Mr. Golf and the guy with the hat, they're in the cart, and they just start going. I haven't teed off yet. They just go down the fairway or down the carpet. And the other guy starts apologizing for him and says, "Should I go get him?" No, 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 it's 18. I don't care. I'm just going to hit it to the left side and hope for the best. So they get down. Eventually, they get down by the hole, and I'm waiting to chip, and all of a sudden, the guy with Mr. Golf gets out, and he grabs a putter and something else, and then the bag of juice or whatever they have, that some little like, and he takes and that's on the ground, and then the other guy takes both bag. He takes the cart and he goes to the parking lot. And I figured, well, he's done. He's had enough. I'd certainly had enough. So we all three putt out. We are walking off the green. This guy comes back from the parking lot with people behind him stacked up and drops a ball on the green, chips up, and is it out. I've never, and he drops, and people are waiting, and they're not happy. Just like, when he did that, I just kept going. I'm just like, if there's going to be a fight between, this is not the group I'm going to war with. I'm not dying on this hill right here. I'm in my cart. I'm gone. I shook the two guys' hands who stayed around and actually tried to play the right. I'm out. When he came back, he drove to put everything away except a putter and a ball, and he chipped it. Whatever. I have not. And these are guys that are they should have known. They should have known.
Ted, a couple things in there caught my ear that I wanted to expand on. How many swings does it take for you to watch someone you've never played before, size them up, and rate them as to whether or not they have a chance of breaking 190? Is it a practice swing? One actual hitting the ball once?
No, I think it kind of, to me, it's, you got to play a hole or two, I think, because if to me, because I'm not Mr. Golf. I'm not at Shinnecock, so I've seen people play really good for 2 holes and then just, fall apart. And I've seen the opposite. So I like to see a couple holes, but I just want them to go where they're supposed to go and play on their turn and be ready when it's their turn. It shouldn't take 5 hours to do this, Not in a
here's
cart.
maybe the more important question, Ted. What is it about left-handers that they all wear their hats askew?
No idea. It's, I don't know. Like, I like Jazz. Have you ever watched the Yankees and you see
he's
Jazz
got like his.
Sometimes his hat backward. He's close to having it backwards, but it's on top of his head. It looks like a little kid's. Like it doesn't fit him right. But he's kind of out there, it's okay.
Who was the reliever? Left-hander, threw kind of hard, bounced around near the end of his career. His hat was always, you know the guy I'm talking about?
Well, the one I remember, he wasn't left-handed, which was that Fernando Rodney.
Oh, you're right. It was and he was right-handed.
Was that who you were thinking? But he was right-handed.
Fernando Rodney, yes, and he was the one.
Yeah, but
he was the outlier to the rule.
Yeah, he was. It was almost sideways on. It was like at a 45-degree angle.
Put a propeller on top of it.
Yeah, well, that's what I always think of when I see Jazz Chisholm, because he's got the brim like pointed straight up, and just put a propeller on it, and let's call it, But left-handers, they're almost always, they're just a little, not all of them, but a lot of them are just a little, particularly pitchers.
Yes,
just a little pulled off to the side, and you're looking at them like, uh-oh.
Who knows?
We're not sure. Who knows where this is going to go?
Exactly. You never hit against them before. You don't quite dig in.
No, it's particularly if they throw one to the backstop,
the nuclear warm-up situation.
I always thought that would be, after I saw that movie, I always thought if you were a hard thrower and coming in at, whether it's a starting pitcher or out of the bullpen or whatever, to throw one off the backstop
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
After you throw 3 or
100%.
4 down the middle, just throw one off the backstop just to make everybody a little nervous. Yeah.
Um, Ted,
And I'm
Robbie and
complaining about golf.
so I'm going to have about 180-degree opposite
Yeah.
grump this week. Robbie and Bridget are having a nice weekend away. They're at a wedding this weekend in beautiful New York City.
Oh,
And
okay.
so the executive producer and I are babysitting Maeve. And if I'm speaking a little quietly right now, she's not that far from me,
Right.
and it is nap time. So
Yeah.
we
Right.
can't let this thing get too unruly today. But anyway, when grandparents babysit, the rules about how much television time go completely out the window.
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
And even Bridget, God bless her, she said, no rules. Just as long as she's in one piece, when we get back, everything else is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
God bless. I know why I like her so much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Maeve is a fan of the TV program Dora the Explorer.
Okay.
Okay. And we've had pretty much a continuous loop going on of Dora the Explorer episodes since Friday morning when we took over reins of the control here. But anyway, I think it was it was yesterday. At one point, one of the episodes has a character whose name, and I quote, is, I have it written down here, the grumpy old troll.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
in this episode, Dora is trying to take a group photo of all of her friends, including said grumpy old troll.
Yeah.
But Dora says, I can't take a picture with the grumpy old troll looking so grumpy. Here's my problem, Ted.
Yeah.
This is clearly discrimination against the grumpy community.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I thought the young people of today that are clearly writing Dora the Explorer, I thought their attitude and their mantra was, you be you. You're
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
the way you are.
Right. Yeah.
If you're
As long as it
perfect the
fits
way,
their thing.
but if you're perfect the way you are, why can't the grumpy old troll be grumpy and be grumpy in the picture?
I don't know.
I
I think you're perfect as you are, as long as it's within the within the bounds of what we determine is acceptable.
of what they consider acceptable.
Yeah, well, yeah, as the writers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a problem with
That's a much deeper issue than what I think we want to explore today. I mean, that can go in a lot of ways, you know.
I saw
So
somebody
yeah,
once said that small minds discuss people.
yeah,
Good minds discuss activities or thoughts, and then great minds discuss thoughts and philosophies. So,
okay, okay. All right.
so I'm
Well,
basically telling you how great of a mind I have because I'm
yeah, there
thinking
you go.
I'm so deep, you know, that when
You're thinking big picture stuff. Yeah.
when I watch Dora the Explorer, my mind is going out into what's happening in the world, Ted, not just the grumpy old troll situation.
I'm quite sure that you are glad you were working when Dora the Explorer is on a constant loop.
Well, there's Boots. Her sidekick is Boots, who's a
Oh,
monkey.
yeah, great.
And then there's a talking map that
Okay.
whenever they need to find something, the map starts to sing that, you know, time to look at the
That's
map.
just like GPS, okay.
Oh, the other one, Ted, we watched Mickey's Clubhouse.
Oh,
And
okay.
in Mickey's
Nice.
Clubhouse, Mickey and Minnie had a phone call with the Mickey and Minnie on Mars.
Oh, well, okay.
And Mickey and Minnie and Mars needed their clubhouse rebuilt. So Mickey and Minnie and Goofy got in their spaceship
Sure they did. Okay.
and flew to Mars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all Elon needs to stop worrying about SpaceX.
Yeah, just Call Disney, apparently. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Put Goofy in control, and it's all good.
Of course, here's the big picture discussion on the whole Disney situation, Ted. Goofy is a dog.
Right.
But Pluto is a dog also. So
Right.
why is Pluto like a pet
Yeah.
and Goofy is one of the gang? I've never figured that out.
I don't know. I can't answer that. Why isn't one of them a cat then? Just saying. Yeah, one of them could have been a cat.
These
I guess
are
Walt
big,
didn't like cats.
Here we go, Ted. Here we go.
All right.
Okay. Off that track, we could have gone down many paths with Goofy and Pluto and cats and dogs and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, Ted. While the Spurs lost the NBA Finals, they have the expected next great international player in Victor Wembanyama. Okay. What player who was not born in the U.S. has scored the most points in NBA history?
I would say Dirk.
Yep. Dirk Nowitzki, Ted. 7th on the all-time scoring list with 31,560 points. Who else were you thinking about?
Well, Hakeem.
Number 2.
And Kobe. Was Kobe born in the United States?
No.
Yeah, now I thought about it. Kobe, yeah.
No,
was he? I knew he lived in France. Did he? He was born in France?
I guess he must have been born in the States. So Dirk is number 1, 7th in NBA scoring history. Hakeem is 17th in NBA scoring history with 26,946. Ted, the name that surprises me, Dominique Wilkins was born in France. So he's 3rd on the list.
Oh, okay. Patrick Ewing, that would have been a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Jamaica or Barbados.
Yeah, Patrick Ewing was born in Jamaica, and then Steve Nash, and they have Steve Nash actually being born in South Africa and then moving to Canada. Now, the other name that I thought you might be thinking about was Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was born in the Virgin Islands, but since that's a territory of the United States, that doesn't count. He's considered U.S.
Yeah.
So there you go. Dirk is number 1 on the international scoring list.
Well, Dirk could shoot it. Dirk could shoot it, and he liked to shoot it.
Yes, he did. With the knee up and the fall away. Yeah, it was. It wasn't quite Kareem-esque sky hook, but it was tough to guard.
Well, yeah, almost 7 feet tall. Yeah,
falling away and putting his knee up. Yeah, that's a good way to stop a block shot.
Yeah.
All right, Ted. Let's start with the Carolina Hurricanes, and as you correctly predicted on this fine podcast last week, the Hurricanes went into Vegas. They won in Game 6, 3-0, in a series that had been averaging 7.8 goals per game. We finally got something closer to the game that we expected. The other thing that I saw was it was the first of these finals games where I saw the hurricane effect of playing the Hurricanes for multiple games and then just completely wearing you down. And by the end of the series, even the mighty Knights had been suffocated by the Jets. I mean, by the Hurricanes' constant pressure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they were just over. I don't know if they were out of gas, but they were certainly overwhelmed. Hart gave up, a mediocre goal, the first one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he would say he should have stopped that. Yep. But then the second one was, a doinker off somebody's stick and it goes in, and then an empty netter. So he played really well, in that game, because it's 2-0. They're in it.
Yeah.
But you never felt that they were really in it, except when they had the power play. That's about it. Most of the time it seemed like Carolina was holding the pressure and seeming to be pushing back, the tide, a little bit.
So I am a fan of Ray Ferraro as a analyst.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
And he played the game, so he has forgotten more hockey than I will ever know.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you don't have to be so forceful about that comment.
Well, it's the same for me too. Yeah, yeah. He
Anyway,
knows more than we'll ever. He forgotten more than we'll ever know. Yeah.
but he seemingly completely embraced the idea that the Knights there was a fatigue factor with the Knights because they had played more games in the earlier rounds.
Yeah, I think so. And Carolina was, I mean, Colorado to some degree, even though they swept them, but certainly Carolina, they're hit, they're big boys too. They're hitting them just as much as Vegas was hitting everybody else. It's got to wear on them. And wouldn't you think that Las Vegas's roster was older than Carolina's by a little bit?
I haven't looked at it. I have, to one of my
Average age kind of things. Yeah.
One of the things that I thought about asking as a trivia question was how many players remain from the original Golden Knights team? And
it's 3 or 4, I think.
Stone, Carlson, I think McNabb was on the first team.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Riley Smith, one of like the third or the fourth wing.
Yeah, I think they said during the broadcast there was like 4.
Yeah,
so that might be those 4.
Yeah.
But I mean, their overall roster construction seems to me that they have more veterans, and that Carolina was a little bit younger. And the other thing to me, I mean, I don't, again, no less than Ray Ferraro has ever known, ever no less than he's forgotten. It seemed to me like you have said in the past with Bill Belichick when he was with the Patriots, Carolina tried and was pretty successful at taking Eichel and Marner out of the offensive game plan, right? Or they just didn't let. So, and Carolina has more guys that could score and keep pressure on you. To me, that's what it sort of felt like, is they couldn't get their 2 big guys loose often enough, and that Carolina just kept coming at them in waves and waves and waves of guys. Each line had effective scoring or real, they put a lot of pressure on Vegas, particularly in the last game.
And we spoke about the fact that you have to really respect Jordan Staal taking a spot on the third line as the captain, which generally the captain is either a top defenseman or one of, yeah. And I was really, really happy that he won the Conn Smythe. But he was great. He was more than great. He was fantastic in the finals. My understanding, the Conn Smythe Trophy is the most valuable player in the playoffs, not just the finals.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. Yeah,
but clearly,
if you score 7 goals in the first round and don't advance, you're out.
Yeah. and his performance, particularly in the first 4 games of this series, and I said it last week that you made the comment that there was the overtime game that the Hurricanes could have won, and I made the comment that the Knights could have won game 2 if that goal had been allowed. But I really felt the first 4 games, as a whole, I thought Vegas was the better team. And I thought the only thing that kept Carolina in the series the first 4 games was Staal being so good.
Face-offs.
Goal scoring.
Yeah. But I thought the difference in that series, the first 4 games, was Hart was better than Anderson at the end of the day.
And as soon as they made the switch to Bussy, it evened things out, because Hart was not great. He was just better than, right.
He was better than Anderson, who was struggling at that point.
And, Ted, I want to throw something out here that people who don't know hockey might laugh at this. And I hope you agree that I think this was a seemingly little thing, but in the post-game press conference, when Jordan Staal was being interviewed, the one thing I don't like players having their kids up there with the
right.
Because if you lost, you weren't going to have your But
Right,
anyway,
right, right,
his kids were there with him, and they seemed like lovely young kids. And the daughter looked to be 10 or 11 years old, something like that, 11, 12, something like that, old enough to ask a coherent question.
right, right.
And she said kind of jokingly to her father, "What was the deal with that fight in the first game?" And she was referring to the first game in the first series against the Senators.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember this, but you remember in the Four Nations final or the game against Canada, both Kachuk brothers very
Right,
early dropped the gloves.
right, right.
So in that first game of that first series, Brady Kachuk, I think, was trying to set the tone. And like right off the opening faceoff, he did one of those things where he dropped the
Yeah,
gloves.
right,
And Stahl stepped up. Now, he's a big man, but I don't think he's
right.
necessarily a fighter.
No, I don't think so.
But he more than held his own. Am I crazy to think that in the hockey world, that's something that a team leader does? They step up and they take even that challenge
I
and
think
say,
so, probably.
I say, hey boys, we're in this to win this, and no one's going to push us around. Am I crazy?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I mean, look, Carolina
Yes,
was
a little
way
bit,
better.
but
They're way better than Ottawa,
mm-hmm,
and um, he didn't have to do it.
mm-hmm.
But I think it was just, okay, it's kind of a, yeah, okay, great. Let's just get this over with, and now we're gonna beat your brains in, which is what happened.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
But I think that the total sum distance of goals from the net that Jordan Stahl scored from was what, maybe to the circle, maybe to the face-off circle, total sum distance. It's like the Phil Esposito series. You can't move him. They can't move him. So, he's just planted. He's 37 years old. He just plants himself down in front of the net, he takes a lot of hits, and then he bangs them in every now and again,
Hey,
so.
Wemby needed to learn from Jordan Stahl. He needed to watch the hockey playoffs to figure out how to be successful.
Well, I mean, yes, there's something to that. Yeah, yeah. Well, what he needs to do is get in the weight room and
Start
get
doing a lot of
strong
squats. A lot of
in
squats.
his lower half. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different issue.
All right. So let's go to the second sport, Ted. I like this. You said this men with sticks a while back. So we're
Yeah,
going from hockey men with sticks to US Open men with sticks.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
let's get the important thing right out of the gate, Ted. On our picks, your threesome of Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Ludwig are at 2 under after 2 rounds, and my threesome of Scotty, Tommy Fleetwood, and Justin Rose are 2 over. So you have a solid 4-stroke lead going into the weekend.
yeah,
So you might break the streak and get the honor back
yeah.
for the
But
PGA.
here, I just saw. Apparently, the USGA sent out a memo. We're ramping it up for the weekend, boys. They
Okay,
they
so let's
they're going to
start
set
there.
it up to 11 on the stimp meter.
I think I've told you this. Um, Speaking using 11, Robbie's a musician, and when he first started really playing guitar, I found a shirt from him that had a dial on it and said "Turn it up to 11"
Right, right,
from,
right,
from
right.
Spinal
That's
Tap.
that movie.
You
Yeah,
know,
right. Yeah.
when we need just a touch more, you see what we do? We turn it up to 11.
To
And Rob
11. Yeah.
Reiner, who was the director and the fake interviewer, goes, "Well, why don't you just set it to 10? And when you need to go from 9 to 10," and the guy goes, "Well, 11's one higher, isn't it?"
Yeah.
For anybody who's never watched This Is Spinal Tap, maybe one of the funniest movies ever. They ran through a series of drummers, one that died from spontaneous combustion on stage, and
Yeah,
another
that's
that
no good.
died with a freak gardening accident.
I hate those. Yeah.
Anyway, so Ted, um, we mentioned last week, you're talking about turning the course up.
Yeah.
We talked about was what the weather was going to be. And on Wednesday, I was hearing that Thursday, particularly in the afternoon, the weather was expected to get really bad, rain and heavy winds.
Right.
And the USGA apparently And I even noticed, like, I think on the first day when the sun was still out, they had guys, they had the crew out spraying down like right
Right,
on the
right,
green in some spots. They were clearly thinking, okay, things are going to get out of control weather-wise this afternoon. We can't let the course also get out of
right,
control.
right.
And I thought, you know how the British Open, your chance for winning the British Open sometimes comes down to on Thursday and Friday whether your draw gets the good or the bad weather.
Right, right, right.
Okay. I thought we
Yeah,
were going to have a British Open situation
yeah,
this weekend that the Thursday afternoon guys were going to get screwed.
right, right.
And it was, the weather was not perfect, but it wasn't nearly as bad as they thought it was
No,
going to be.
no. In fact, I think most of the time, most of the rain was earlier than what they had thought. I think.
And so then, I thought the Thursday afternoon guys were going to have the bad end of it, but the Thursday afternoon guys then went off early Friday morning. So if you look at the
Right,
leaderboard, including Wyndham Clark, almost all of them were Thursday afternoon, Friday morning guys, as
right,
opposed to
right,
the other way around.
right.
Um, so, and I forgot to look this up. I remember when Wyndham Clark won his last US Open, or his first US Open, his only major win. I seem to remember him winning a couple of weeks before they opened that year. And he didn't win recently, but he was
Yeah, he
in
did.
the
He did
top.
win.
Did he
He
win?
did win. He won at Colonial, I think. One of the two tournaments down in Texas. I think he won
I'm,
Colonial.
I'm gonna have to look that up now. But give me your thoughts
Yeah.
on the weekend.
Well, I mean, I think they're having a heck of a tournament if except Wyndham Clark showed up and so far has played way better than everybody else. Um, but, what I read this morning was that the wind was blowing at 20. They've turned they cut the grass. It's now, 11, that balls are starting to blow off the green and all that other good stuff. Um, and I'm quite sure they're going to start setting the flags at the most precarious places they can be on the green. Um, so hopefully it almost sounds like if he plays par, the rest he may win just by playing par.
Oh,
There may not be a way for anybody to shoot. They're just too far back to play their way back into it. Although I think
yeah.
somebody will probably shoot 63 or 64 somewhere.
So Ted, you were right. Wyndham Clark won the what used to be the Byron Nelson, now the CJ Cup
Okay.
Byron Nelson in on May 24th, May 21 through 24. Yeah, so you're right. So yeah, and he had been struggling. He had some kind of off the course incident where he got into some trouble with the locker room. I can't remember
That
exactly
was
what happened.
last year at the US Open. He busted up some lockers at Oakmont. Did he miss the cut or whatever? Something happened. He lost his mind for
Yeah.
for a couple minutes. So
But the one thing about Wyndham Clark is he's just long enough,
yeah,
and he plays that same shot off the tee every time.
right.
And when he gets it going, then it just comes down to whether or not he makes putts. And if he makes, but to your point from the weekend, if the first 2 days the greens were at a 8 or a 9, and now they're going up to an 11 or a 12,
Yeah.
those are two different putting. Those are two different putting
That's
performance situations.
Yeah. I mean, it was starting to get. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, it was starting to get a little weird. Two different guys from almost the exact same spot on number 9, they were like right on top of the hill was where the hole
Mm.
was, and they were both about 4 feet away, and they each three jacked it
From
from
4 feet
4 feet.
away.
Yeah, one of them hit the cup and it spun out and it rolled down the hill and he had like 8 feet left, and the other one just flat out missed the hole he thought it was gonna break or something, and he just missed the hole altogether, and it went 5 or 6 feet away, and then
Wow.
so they both were putting for par and ended up with a double,
Mm.
so I suspect you'll see some more of that if they do turn up the heat on the greens and move the flags around to some other spots. But, this course is no bargain. Some of that rough is really, really ugly.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting, Ted. It looks like they've actually widened the fairways from the last time it was there,
Yeah, they said that. Yeah, yeah.
and which is interesting in that they're making it play sort of the way it generally does. Let me throw something at you, Ted.
Yeah,
So
well,
right
they got
now,
so much criticism over the last
mm,
last 2 times they played there. I think they were trying to make it a little fairer and then because I think it's easier to turn it up than turn it
yes,
down
yeah,
at that point, so
yeah. Ted, let me ask you this. So let me go through the top. Let's go down to, let's keep it in the top 10 here. Okay. So you got Clark at the lead, and then in second place, tied for second, you got Stevens, who I don't know, Sam Stevens, Tom Kim, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Xander Schauffele are all tied at 3. Then you've got Morikawa at 2 under, and then at 1 under, you got Harry Higgs, Sam Burns, Thigala, Justin Thomas. Let's assume that Clark comes back to the pack. Of those other 9 players, who would you put your money on to make a big comeback?
probably, Fitzpatrick has played very well all year
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
has won a US Open.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that Schauffele has the game for US Open
Mm-hmm.
because nothing really rattles his cage. He just, whatever happens, happens, and and he's a good enough putter. So those would be, I think, the 2 guys
Yeah.
that I would say, since they're in second place, they're already in the better position. I just don't. It's going to be hard unless things get really weird on Saturday and Sunday, where everybody, you know, somebody can post a number
Mm-hmm.
like Justin Thomas say is 1 under, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or anybody 1 under or even or something, goes out and shoots a 67 and a 68, picks up 4 or 5
Yeah.
shots to par,
Yeah.
and then the afternoon guys, the wind kicks up or whatever.
Yeah.
And the greens dry out even more, and they can't. None of them shoot below 75. I mean, I guess something weird could happen,
Let me
but I
ask
think
it
it's
this way. If I gave you the bet if you can either have Wyndham Clark or the field, which would you take?
Oh, wow. He has won a US Open, so and he has played well recently. Um,
Oh, and Ted, I just noticed that there is one guy making a little mini run. Emiliano Grillo is 3 under through 12 today. So
okay.
that's
Mm.
at least one guy's making a little mini run. But okay,
Well, what's that
Clark or
put
the
him at?
field? He's at
What's that
even
put
now,
him?
so he's still 7 back.
Yeah.
I still think that's too far. But
Yeah.
Clark or the
I mean,
field?
I think you have to take the field. I think he's gonna come
Yeah,
back some.
yeah,
And, like I
yeah,
said, if he comes back to like 5 and somebody's at 3 under and they shoot a pair of
yeah,
68s, they sneak in there, right? So
yeah.
I mean, that's what I
I
mean,
agree.
it's just hard to imagine him not giving something back.
Well, he's played so well the first 2 days. He's going to have one day where he doesn't hit it as well. And so the question is,
Right.
that day he doesn't hit it well, does he somehow scrape it around in 72 or does it bounce up to a 76?
Right. I
That's
mean,
what it's going to come down to.
that's where the Tigers and the Nicklases of
Yeah.
the world would shoot 71 or, whatever,
Instead of
and
76 or
just
77. Yeah.
right, and just
Yeah.
hold it together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens, but I suspect that I'm not saying that he won't win. I'm just saying I think it's going to get a lot tighter.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Ted, let's move to the last topic, which is the Major League Baseball and the union. And stay in the middle there, Ted, because I'm thinking some of our
No,
media
I was
feeds
just
are going to
reaching
come
for
out of this
something.
section.
There you
No, but stay there. Okay. So in the recent weeks, Ted,
go. Yeah.
the owners have made their first, as I called it early, volley/proposal. They have proposed a firm salary cap at 245.3 million in total payroll, Ted, which includes the deferrals.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the proposal included a hard floor of 171.2 million. So with that system in place, if it were adopted, that would require 6 teams, including the Dodgers and Mets, to shed payroll, and it would
Right.
require 9 teams to. No, I'm sorry. 9 teams, including 4 that are currently in the playoffs, to add
Right.
salaries. Okay.
Right.
Now, as expected, the union completely dismissed the idea of a salary cap. They're vehement in their
Right.
opposition to the salary cap. and they responded with what they call the competitive integrity tax, which would
Yes.
penalize teams for not spending over 150 million, which would include 13 teams currently. And the union also proposed a significant increase in the minimum salary from 780,000 to 1.5 million.
Yeah.
They also proposed a $56 million raise in the luxury tax threshold to 300 million, which would only affect the Dodgers and the Mets. Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, I'm glad that they're both on the concept of a floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the first thing that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the Dodgers would do with deferrals being. I mean, how do you all of a sudden account now? You got Shohei's 70 million as the whole, out of a $245 million. Uh, so I think that's going to be.
I'm looking at a Wall Street article, Ted, right now that says the Dodgers have a luxury tax payroll of around $420 million. So that clearly includes the deferrals.
Yeah, yeah. I also heard in a subsequent article that I saw on Yahoo that one of the things that the owners are, I don't know if it was actually proposed or it's in the thought process, is they want to eliminate 8 rounds of the draft,
Yes.
and they want to eliminate drafting kids out of high school.
Yes.
They want them to be 20 years old.
Yes. Now, my
And
understanding. So right now, my understanding is that to be draft eligible, you can either go directly from high school,
yeah,
but if you go to college, you have to wait for 3 seasons. So
I
you can
think it's
be
a
a
20 or
junior.
21, yeah, 20 or 21, whatever. There's an age or so many years out of high school or something.
Right.
I forget
3
what it was.
years.
Yeah.
So what I read is that they want to eliminate the high schooler,
Yeah.
and they're gonna take you only have to be in college for 2 years instead of 3.
Yeah. Yeah. The players also want quicker access to free agency. Instead of 7 years, they probably want it to be 5 or something like that. Um, so all of those are kind of things that are off to the side, I think, because at the end of the day, this is all about how much money is going to be available to the players. The players want more revenue sharing. They want to essentially be 50-50. Uh, the owners have also suggested, I don't believe this is a full owner position, is that they share all the TV money, including the local TV money, amongst all the teams. I don't know I can't, unless what do the owners have to do? 3/4 of the owners to vote for something to make it. Uh,
Yes.
well,
Yes.
okay, maybe it would come down to that, because the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Mets and the Yankees may not want to share their local TV revenue, but everybody else would say, "Yeah, give me some of that," right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think they're trying to get there, but the salary cap, I think, is the hard. I mean, to me, if you're the players and they're raising, what are the Marlins spending on payroll?
80.
50 million?
It
80?
says, according to this article, they're at 80.
Who's the lowest? Are they the lowest, or Tampa maybe?
This article doesn't state. It just says that
Okay.
the Marlins are at 80.
Yeah, I mean, the Nationals aren't spending any real money. You know, so you're doubling essentially some of these teams' payrolls, right? I
Hmm.
mean, they're gonna be forced to pay double
Hmm.
what they're paying now.
Hmm.
Um, so I think the owners are more in tune with that, because that's still the lower end of the scale, right? You can have, particularly if you raise the minimum, you can still have a lot of low end players and just one or two high
Mm.
priced guys, and get over that threshold. It'd be kind of like the NBA. You remember when the NBA put in that floor, and all of a sudden guys that nobody ever heard of were getting 4-year deals for 900 million or something,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
So,
I remember there was a backup point guard for the Heat that got like a 50, $20 million a year. Like, why?
yeah. Yeah, he played, he averaged 7 minutes a game or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
So Ted, when you look at the numbers, they look these two groups look very far apart. But to me, and you said this, it all comes down to the salary cap.
Yeah. Right.
Once they get to the point of agreeing that a cap has to happen, then you just start negotiating on the numbers. There's a
Right.
great scene in a movie. Richard Gere is playing like a billionaire, and he walks in. He's meeting with the other guy, and the guy says, "Your price is too high." And Gere starts to walk out,
Yeah.
and the guy says, 400 million, and the other guy turns around and goes, 600 million, and the other guy says 450, 520,
Right.
475, 500, and they agree on 500. And as he's walking out, Gere says, how high would you have gone? And the guy said, I would have gone to 525. And the other guy said, how low would you have gone? He said, I would have gone to 425. He's like, okay, we made a good deal.
Right. Right. Yeah. You're
And
in the middle. Yeah.
once you get to the point of a salary cap being agreed upon, then it's just doing that discussion.
Yeah. Now, the other part is, though, okay, the salary cap is whatever the number is. How does that work? Because is that like the NFL, the salary cap is a week to week thing. Guys get money moved around on their
Mm,
contracts that we don't see, that they
mm,
might give them a bonus
mm,
or, you know, change how their money is structured
mm.
in theory,
The
theory they
big thing
push.
in the NFL is you take a salary and you can convert it into a bonus that's paid once, and then that gets spread out over multiple years, and
Right.
that's how they reduce the impact on the salary cap.
Or even in weeks in the season,
Mm,
some guys get their contracts altered during the season by little bits,
mm,
or something, or their salaries converted into some sort of bonus or something. So, and I don't know how the NBA does it, or NHL for that matter. Where is it the beginning of the season, or is it at the end of the season, or do they have to check monthly, or how do they work that? Because that's part of it too. Because if you say, for example, I'll give you a great example. That's very simple. When we played football in before, like in at Calverton, and you're
mm,
playing by age and weight.
mhm,
The thing was, if you made your weight, you were allowed 5 pounds after that,
mm.
right? Remember if
I
you
don't remember
weighed, if
that
you,
detail, but now that you say
yeah,
it, yeah, yeah, I do remember
yeah,
something
because
like
they
that.
just, because a lot of kids starve themselves to get under the weight. They
Right.
they as the season went on, you could be called back, and you were then given up
Yeah.
to 5 extra pounds. So, is it's $245 million on opening day, and then we're not worried about it the rest of the way? Or is it
Mm.
245 every month, or is it 245 at the end of the year? How does that work?
Yeah,
You know?
I remember when we had Sean and Don on to talk about hockey one year. They both lambasted the Lightning for kind of
Yes,
skirting the salary cap rules by having guys on injured reserve, and their
until
salary
the
didn't.
playoffs.
Right. And then
Right.
they would add other guys, and so yeah, there's ways you can finagle that. But Ted, here's the $64,000 question. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say you're about an 8 level as a baseball fan, right? And
Sure.
you watch a lot of baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I would consider you avid, but I would consider you a really, really good baseball fan. Okay. How important is it to you that this finally get done and we finally get a salary cap? And hold on, before we even do that, let's back up a second. Do you agree with the premise that baseball has to have a salary cap?
I think they have to. There has to be. I don't know if it's a. I don't know if a cap is the right word for it, but there has to be a top end something, and I guess
Okay.
cap is the right word for it, because the Dodgers have now. It's fair. The Dodgers have figured out a way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it hasn't made them, you know, a super team in the sense that they're just running over. They're not going to do what you wanted at the beginning of the year, 120 wins and then sweep their way through. That's not going to happen, because players who make the most money tend to be older and get banged up more, and that's kind of what goes on with them. But they have more flexibility. They know how to work, and they have and they have resources. So yeah, you have to. I think there has to be a leveling of the field somehow. I guess a cap is the best way. But to me, and if they handle deferrals in this salary cap, great, because that's kind of been the Dodgers' superpower, right? Is the deferred money.
Yeah. So, and let me throw a number at you, Ted, or something that I read in one of these articles. No team in the bottom half of U.S. media markets,
yeah,
has won a Major League World Series title since 2015 with the Royals.
With the Royals, okay.
Since that time, 15 teams in the other 3 sports with salary caps have won a title.
Yeah.
To me, that says it all, Ted. And
sure,
I understand people say, and even said in one of the articles that, four teams that are currently in the playoffs are under the $171 million floor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But, and let's say
it's June. It's June. It's not the playoffs yet.
And let's say it's the Brewers.
Yeah.
If the Brewers and the Dodgers play in the National League Championship Series 10 times, and all the players are available,
reasonably healthy. Yeah. Right.
Okay. They play that series 10 times. They play a 7-game series 10 times. How often do you think the Dodgers win that series?
At least 8.
Okay. See, to me, that's why the whole argument of teams being in the playoff race as a lower market team has no value. Can you win a championship? Yes or no? In the NFL, the Buffalo Bills can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And in the Major League Baseball, the Pittsburgh Pirates cannot. Simple as fact.
Yeah. The other thing about where the argument for, you have so many smaller market teams in the playoffs every year. Well, you put them in the same division. At least 1 or 2 are going to make it because somebody has to win the division.
And then you also expand the number of teams that make the playoffs.
Right.
So getting into the playoffs is not the be all end all. Let me go back to the question.
Because to be fair, Tampa has figured out how they can do it, at least be competitive on a regular basis with their setup.
All right, let me go back. So let me state unequivocally, I think baseball has to have a salary cap. Has to.
Right.
I don't care what term you put on it, but it has to have a salary cap. Let me ask you this question, Ted. As a very, very good baseball fan, very, very good to avid baseball fan, who thinks that there needs to be some type of salary control. That's the right word. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe if they called it that, the players would be all right with it.
Let me ask it this way, Ted. If it led to a salary cap being eventually agreed upon, if it meant the entire loss, including the World Series of the 2027 season, do you think it would be worth it?
Well, that's a really good question, because hockey had a whole season they lost, but it's hockey, right? It's the 4th sport. It's actually in a sense, you could make the argument, because I don't even remember what year it was. It was like 2011 or something like that, 2012. Yeah. And I don't think they've had any expansion teams since then, but maybe they have. They've moved some teams around.
They've had the Kraken and the
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right. Okay, so they've had 2. So they've expanded 2 teams. They had to move some teams around. They had to go back to Winnipeg, and Arizona's now in Utah. They just had, they're not great ratings, but they just had record ratings for their finals. There's no, but again, it's hockey. Hockey's a diehard, to me, that's a diehard sport. You either like it or you don't, or you haven't been exposed to it enough in person. because you really have to see it in person a couple times before you. To me, I don't think anybody becomes a diehard hockey fan on TV, because it is so hard to follow. Baseball's a little different, but it has always recovered from its. They lost the strike in '94, or they lost the World Series in '94. It took a couple of years.
And it went through the steroid thing
Yeah.
of Sosa and McGuire to get there.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Did and they, I don't. Has there been expand? I can't remember if any. I think that was the Rockies, and the Rockies and Florida were like the last expansion teams, right? They haven't. So now, and they really haven't moved anybody. Now they're moving the A's.
Well,
And the Nationals and the Nats
Nationals,
moved,
because
or the
the
Expos.
Montreal Expos were the best team in the '95
Right,
season that
right,
was lost. Yeah,
right.
94,
So the Expos
94 season. Yeah.
See, I think they could survive it, but I don't think that it would ever be. I think there comes a point when it's, I think there's a point of casual baseball fans would drop off, because unless they're, because it, it's kind of hard to get, sympathetic. To me, it's kind of hard to get sympathetic if their minimum salary is $1.5 million. You're going on strike for $1.5 million, and it's and then you go to the grocery store and you've got your regular job, and I think it becomes a little more. I think it becomes a little harder to be sympathetic. Would it survive? Yeah, it survived, but I think it would be diminished for a while, for a
See,
long time.
Okay. So Ted, I finally found the quote I was looking for. Major League Baseball spokesman Glenn Kaplan said that disparity, meaning in salaries, is the biggest issue we need to solve to continue to grow the game.
Yeah.
A Morning Consult, I don't know what that is, survey conducted in November concluded that 79% of avid Major League Baseball fans and 69% of casual fans supported a ceiling.
Yeah.
So now I think that you're a stronger baseball fan than I am. If you said to me today, Chris, you're going to lose the entire 27 season, including the World Series, but when it's done, you're going to have a salary cap, I would say, where do I sign up for that?
You have a salary cap.
And here's, see, to me, at the end of the day, here's what needs to happen. We agree to the floor. We agree to the higher compensation for rookie play-in. The cap isn't 245, whatever the league recommended. It's probably something closer to 300.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it has to be phased in to give the Dodgers and other teams a chance to slowly, like the first year, the Dodgers would get rid of Glasnow or Snell. And then the next year they would get rid of one other position player.
Right.
So
like a guy like Freeman might retire or whatever.
Right.
Yes.
So every year they're getting one or two of those $20 to $30 million players off their payroll. And 3 years from now, it's Shohei and whoever else is left.
Yamamoto.
It'll be the Japanese team.
Yeah.
But anyway, I personally think that's what, and Ted, I tell you, I'm so tired of this. The Dodgers at $420 million, including deferrals, and the Marlins at $80 million, they're not playing the same sport. I keep saying this. You cannot have one team spending 5 times the other and think that they're playing the same sport in the same league.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that as an argument. There just is no. It just is almost inconceivable that the Marlins could go to the NLCS against the Dodgers unless 5 of their prospects all hit at once.
Yeah. Sort of what happened with the Royals when they had Perez and Hosmer and the center fielder and Gordon and a few other players. But that, to me, I don't see the difficulty in this. I think you look at all of the salaries currently of all 32 teams, total it all up, right? And then you say you divide that by 32. And then you push the cap up a little bit above that, and you put the floor a little bit below that, And you're basically saying to the players, and you say, okay, every year the cap goes up by 5% or whatever, some number. You figure out
Right.
an escalator. And you say, okay, so right now the cap is going to be
Yeah, but
this.
it can't go up forever because then you're in
The
the
foot,
same boat.
well, but the football one does every year.
Yeah, but football is different because everybody shares their
Okay, so
money.
you tie the salary cap to, I think the salary cap in football gets tied to incoming revenue or past year's
Right,
revenue.
right. Yeah.
So you tie it to annual revenue, and you put the
But then the
escalator in.
floor has to go up too.
Oh,
Floor has
100%,
to go. Oh, okay. All right.
100%, 100%. But to me, Ted, nothing gets decided until the players say yes. And I think, so until the players say yes to a salary cap, I think we're in for a very, very long disruption. And so let me ask this final question. I think we're both in agreement that baseball will not begin on time next season.
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Give me your over under on the first regular season game being played date wise next year.
About this time, middle of June.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Because then you got even if they signed a contract in March, they got to get themselves all amped up and
right.
got to go through
And,
spring
and,
training.
and let me ask you one more time, because I don't know I got an exact answer from you. I say to you, no season, no World Series, but at the end of it, it's a salary cap, beginning of the 28th season. Do you think that's good for baseball?
Well, it's not good when you lose a season. That's not good. But the ultimate getting of a salary cap that, because the players are hung up on the word cap, and and they say, well, we're not going to make as much money. You're limiting our income. People sitting out in the stands are going, wait a minute, your limited income is $40 million a year. Yeah, I'll get over that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the ultimate good for the health of the game financially has to include some sort of cap structure on the top end and
But
a floor on the.
I also think it helps the game on the field, because like I
Well,
said,
yeah, of course, yeah,
I
yeah.
just keep on coming back to, let's use upstate, let's use the Northeast as an example. The Buffalo Bills can win a Super Bowl, the Pittsburgh Pirates cannot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Argument
yeah,
over.
yeah.
And
mean,
I
well,
want Pittsburgh. I want a great franchise like the Pittsburgh Pirates to have a chance to win World Series. I want the Cincinnati Reds to have a chance to win this World Series.
yeah. Any football team, when you look at it that way, any football team, since they all basically have the same amount of money, any football team that's well run from an
Let's put
owner,
let's put it this way, Ted.
GM.
Let's put it this way. Would it shock you next season if the Super Bowl is the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills?
No, no.
Would it shock
But
you would it shock you, Ted, if the World Series next year is the Milwaukee Brewers and the Tampa Bay Rays?
shock, maybe not those two teams. Maybe they might be able to sneak their way in, or not sneak their way in, but they're both good. I would say if you had said, would it shock me if um, Arizona played? Um, sh- uh,
I was just going with small
the White
small
Sox.
market
Yeah,
teams.
yeah. Okay, all right. So but if you said, okay, the Pirates and
The
anybody
Pirates
really,
and the
but
Rays. The Pirates and the
yeah.
Rays, because it has to
Yeah,
be
I
American
mean,
League, National League.
But Tampa keeps figuring out a way to get there. I'm trying to, if it was Tampa and the A's, or not Tampa, Pirates and the A's, something like that, because those are kind of the same level
All right,
teams, right?
let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. National League Championship Series, the Marlins and the Pirates. Would you be shocked?
Yes.
Okay. End of
Right.
discussion.
Right. Yeah. 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 You'd be stunned. Yeah. Because there's just no way.
That's
Right.
why baseball has to have a salary cap, and why football has become the best sport in America, is because you can be the Patriots. You can be picking third one year and be in the Super Bowl the next year. You can be
Right.
the Commanders. You can be picking second one year and be in the NFC Championship game the next year. That's why football has gone past baseball.
Yeah. I mean, if you had like the Saints and um uh, I'm trying to, I just had it in my head too. It was like the Saints and I don't know. I can't remember who I was thinking about. It was a smaller Saints and the Packers
Saints and the
in the
Packers NFC Championship game.
Yeah, yeah,
Who would
that
not
would
shock
be.
me.
No, right. It can't. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's conceivable it could happen.
100%. Right
Yeah,
quarterback, right coach, away you go.
yeah, and right system and everything. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know how good the Pirates manager is, but they've got Skeens, they've got Connor Griffin, they've got a lot of nice players, but they don't have Shohei, they don't have Freddie Freeman, they don't have
No,
Mookie Betts, they don't, and then Tucker's not
and their
even,
margin for error is so
and
thin. If
Tucker,
somebody gets hurt,
Blake Snell hasn't even pitched yet this year. Tucker
right,
isn't hitting, and yet they still have the most wins in baseball.
right. And and the Pirates, if Skeens goes down, we're done.
So that to me is, those kinds of things say everything in one step. So let's go ahead and wrap it up there, Ted. Good discussion. Thank you again to our fans for listening. Please check us out on all of our social media sites. We have a YouTube channel. We're also on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can email us at grumpybrothersports@gmail.com. And with that, we'll say good night, and we promise to do better next time.